want to not be on the recording, just leave your camera off. And so Stephanie, did you want to take it away?
Okay, I got it, I think, finally. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Brooks. I'm the director of the Freeark Gallery and Sculpture Garden at the Riverside Art Center. And I want to welcome you all to a conversation about the brilliant Camille Silverman's work in her exhibition called Softening Space. And so, as Liz said, we're going to start out by just a few questions that I have here. And I just want to start out by inviting all of you to join our conversation. And so I'm going to start out with a couple questions. I'm going to share my screen so that if you haven't been able to see Camille's exhibition, which is open until February 11th, please make a reservation and come see her work. And the work is visceral in this way. And I want to start out by talking about what's visceral and what's micro and macro with Camille's work. So thank you all for joining us, and you're most welcome. And thank you for being part of the Riverside Arts Center's conversation and being supporters of RAC. So I want to share my screen, but I want to start out with a question and conversation about what I think about with Camille's work in terms of the micro and the macro. And I'm going to start with this. Now it's going to get awkward because I'm multitasking. To share an image from what you can see when you look into the window of our gallery space. And so I'm going to go from there to talk about the micro and the macro, because I love this image, and thank you to Tom Benende for his always like wonderful photography. But so when you walk into the space, and these are questions for Camille, but anyone can join in. We see this large installation of paintings and objects on an artwork or a series of artwork. And so, so that's the macro, and the micro are these like tiny little insertions into the floorboards of our gallery space. And so, Camille, I'm wondering like what, how you think about the macro, and I love that you're right behind the works right now, and the sunlight is gorgeous in there. But how you think about like filling in like a tiny gap in something that might be overlooked within like these larger installations that are paintings on top of shower curtains and like really delicate little gestures within something that's sort of big and macro.
Thanks, Stephanie. You know, I guess if there's something about like people looking at a work in its entirety, but I also really like the idea of like rewarding people when they walk up to it, or the idea of discovering like the small interior remarks just as much as the overall sweep of the shower curtains. I guess what's also really important to me, I always kind of think of it as music too, is like when the conductor does like these huge overall, you know, sweeps with the orchestra, and then you go in and then you get these like smaller notes or smaller, I don't know, little riffs that also run through the entirety of like music. So I just like that idea of moving in and out of the work and like rewarding people who like walk up to it. Like you can take it in as an entirety, or you can walk up to it and discover like new layers, new worlds. And then the floor was not anything that I planned on. It's just when I put the installation up, the gaps in the boards were really distracting to me as the plastics moved forward. And so I was looking at a lot of the ropes that I was hanging from the ceilings as suspension and also kind of as botanical. And I moved a lot of the smaller string into the boards and then just kind of had them expand out into the front of the gallery space. So, and that's one of the drawings behind the plastic, that is, yeah, one of the drawings behind the plastic sheets. So I must say, when before I moved to Chicago, I did a lot of wristy drawings. I was working a lot full time, and it was just way over full time. So a lot of my drawings were in bed. I did a lot of drawing rolls of paper in bed. So I had a lot of these. I did a lot of wristy drawings. And since I moved to Chicago, physicality has been really important to me. I just love using my entire body and just being able to, you know, make gestures, standing, crawling, just using my whole body now. But I never let go of those wristy works, and I think it kind of adds a kind of a second dimension to my work. So I'm really I still love needling and crusting.
I like that because it, like, again, it like is back to like the great reward in looking at your work is when we get really close. Even if it is like, maybe we look at the floorboards, but even with that large piece, the back looks forward. You know, when we look at these like micro moments within like a large sculptural painting, we're rewarded, and it's greatly rewarding for us to like have these intimate moments. And I think your works invite intimacy in a really wonderful way for the viewer, and it's rewarding for us.
I also think it's kind of like jokey too, because like if people don't look at the floorboards and someone says something to them, it's kind of like I don't know. It just I guess there's a sense of humor also. If you didn't, then you're feeling, oh, I totally missed it. I didn't see that. And then there's this like knowledge that, you know, to be aware or just I don't know, just the slowing down is really important. So I think that there's a discovery too. If you missed it, there's also that discovery too, that like, oh, you know, I just walked by it.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk to you about is color and how you make decisions about color, because they're so vibrant. And like, how do you choose like both the thickness of color and how you apply paint on a surface, whether it's, I don't know, in a floorboard or like on a canvas, and how you, there's this really visceral thing. And I think that's the other word that I think about with your works, like what's visceral for you and how do you use the tactile to communicate?
Well, I really, I mean, we talk about like the discovery in the work, but I also like use discovery when I, you know, look for things or gather things. So I kind of prefer finding rather than buying. And also I'm you know, my father's a huge environmentalist, and I kind of grew up with that, you know, being raised, you know, to not be such a consumer. So I use a lot of the colors like that I have, like a lot of some of the colors in the
I'm going to show some more images.
Yeah. Some of the colors are me draining my computer inks from the cartridges, and others are
With these? with these images?
The ones, the tiny squares are from my, in the smallest squares, like in the middle, are all from computer inks, from draining computer inks.
Hmm.
And then a lot of the is from latexes that I like buy at garage sales, and also the top like gummy part is spackle. Top of the shower curtain, kind of like letting go of some of those shower curtain dots, you know, or the holes in the shower curtain. So a lot of most of the paint is found, and then also I like to use the plastics to change, like colored plastics to also change the colors of the paints or the objects. But I really like to use like transparent paint and then matte paint and move the shower curtains move in and out. And so I really like to use color where it moves in and out, like some translucent, some thick, some thin, some washes. So I guess it's kind of similar to like the idea of like the mark, just like using them as like musical notes, or I don't know, just planes of like visceral color and notes that move forward and back, similar to what's going on with the plastics.
Well, I think you already answered my next question, which is about the found object. And I love how you're talking about the musical and the lyrical, and like how music is informative, and the ephemeral. And so I think that's another really important element of your work. Like what's ephemeral, what's permanent, and what can be reused. And I love that you're talking about ecology and how that's an important thing for you. And I think you and I share that. My father was a biologist, and so I grew up loving all creatures, great and small, and plants the way that you do. So I just want to share a couple more images, and I want to like talk about how you build things onto stretchers, because one thing that's really interesting to me about your practice is how you go from something that we recognize as a painting, like on a stretcher, to something that's really physical as a sculptural object. So if you will indulge me for a second, I'm going to show the other images that I have set up here. And we can start with a nice transition is the Belmont piece and you were talking about. Can you all see this? I know my desktop is messy. Can you see this, everyone?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so with this, like, and what you said in your artist statement, that you were like picking up things that you found, and I'm wondering if you can talk about that and how like these little like micro moments can be rebuilt. And I think about your work as like building things off of a structure.
Yeah. So
and I'm going to talk through a couple images, or do you want to talk about this one right now?
Fine. This one's my first shower curtain piece. And it's called Belmont Cragin Blouse, and I live in the Belmont Cragin area. So I think a lot of my work, the physicality, of course, kind of speaks to the body, but this kind of speaks to like torso and button shirt. So a lot of like this debris is like my clothes, and I don't go shopping for my paintings for clothes. I go shopping like normal people do and just pick what they like. So it's actually like a lot of this is clothes that I wear, and then also scraps from my studio. So it's a lot of like shedding. And I like the idea of the shower curtain too, because you know, when we're in the shower, we like shed, you know, or cleanse, but it's also kind of dirty. So it kind of has that contradiction to it that I really like.
It's also really intimate. I think a shower curtain, like is about like intimacy and, you know, in one's like a tiny space in one's house or one's, you know, home.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. And it's also, you know, I use a lot of adhesives in my work and a lot of shower curtains. And I think when I was little, like putting glue on my hands and peeling it was like the biggest joy in the world.
Totally fun.
Oh, I just loved it. Yeah. So, I mean, I always have that kind of like that peeling and translucency kind of love of materials like that since I was little.
So I want to interrupt for a second and just, there are a couple of questions that came in, and one is a request for some close-ups of these, and then also if you can talk about, I mean, you're talking about the shower curtains, but in your acrylic paint, but what are the other media that you're using?
So in Belmont Cragin, there's paper,
Oh, sorry.
latex paints, shower curtain, lots of clothing, and then like the graying areas are adhesives. So I use adhesives to adhere things, like construction adhesives to adhere the materials, but I also love them as like just material as well. So I think it's clothing, paper, latex paint, found latex paint, and a lot of clothing and shower curtain.
I'm going to click on a couple more photos because these are amazing, and again, it's like building on what we think about painting and like objects on the wall that we name as art. And I think these almost look botanical. Mm-hmm. But I want to bring up a couple more images. And this one I think is like really compelling to me. It's called Me Plus You. And you paint on this little cutie plant. Can you talk about this one?
Yeah.
And plus we need to open it up to other people. So I know we don't have too much time left for me because I could talk to you forever about your work, Camille.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. You helped me so much with this exhibit.
Oh, please. But yeah, maybe we should open it up to other people and I can click through some images, or do you want to talk about Me Plus You? And
yeah, I can talk a little bit about Me Plus You. I found this top to a pineapple in Riverside Park in Belmont Cragin. And we tried to grow a pineapple and it never really fruited. So I clipped off the plant, put it in my studio just to use maybe in an installation or something. And then it started dying and growing at the same time. So, so I started, I really like the idea of it growing and me working on it at the same time. I guess I like the idea of like expansions, like the strings from the installation and this plant growing at the same time I'm working on it. And with a few of my works here, I would just hit a YouTube meditation tape, and each leaf is a meditation. And I don't know, meditation works super great on it because the cracking leaves are so delicate, but just being careful and picking a mark throughout the meditation, and each leaf was kind of given a different pattern. And the plant kept growing and it was wonderful, and I really loved working on that piece.
I think it's gorgeous and delicate, and also like unexpected. And I'm sticking with the micro and macro with your work. But right now I want to open it up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but for everyone, we will have images of all of Camille's pieces on our website and highlighting her work. But I would like to open it up for anyone to ask questions for Camille. Or I could keep talking. I mean, I can do that forever.
You know,
I have a question for Camille, if which is, you know, we're looking at your work right now in this, you know, Zoom format, right? We're seeing reproductions on the screen that are sort of Stephanie's reproductions, and then we're seeing those reproduced, and then many of the people who would see the work are going to see it in reproduction, especially in this age where it's we don't have big crowds coming in anymore. Has that changed in any way how you consider your work? That the work has to be seen in this removed way as opposed to physically in the flesh?
you know, most of these works have taken like so long that I don't, you know, when they were started, I wasn't really thinking about that. Maybe the shower curtain I was, you know, because I moved it to the front window and knew that when we started, we moved this exhibit once, we moved it up a month because the positivity rates in Chicago were at 15%. So I thought, well, I'll just do an artist residency in there, just like work the space and do an artist residency and put the shower curtains in the front. And so I think that I considered. I think most people that know me know that I have like computer sensitivities. And so we're going so virtual that I kind of like really bump up against, I don't consider it because I don't like it so much. You know,
Yeah.
it makes me kind of ill to be on the computer so much. I mean, I think about them when I photograph them, like with the Forever painting, which kind of bounces off the wall. I really like when I photograph that and how the shadows play, and it's such a pop image. I think the plant, Me Plus You with the plant, is it looks like such a graphic, like POW, like a cartoon POW. That I think that one really reads, you know, well for images. But you know, when I'm making, I don't consider virtual very much.
Can I follow up? Can you talk about what it is that we're missing because we're not able right now, many of us, to stand in front of the work?
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, for sure. Probably like a lot of the visceralness. Like I think Stephanie put up Tracker, which was that.
I know.
Oh,
No, keep talking. I'll follow up.
well, like she put a Tracker that was kind of a yellow piece that kind of has like runners on it.
Yeah, I like that.
And they're so scabby, and so is the Forever painting. They're just like these scabs, which kind of goes back to body. But yeah, I don't think you could like see the like lyrical marks through the whole that run through all the pieces. And you can't, I guess you can't walk into the space and you know, see the strings running through, you know, through the entrance of the gallery. You can't walk through I mean, I can, you know, I can Facebook, you know, Facebook walking through, you know, the installation and do shots like that. But yeah, I think the way the kind of the surfaces are built are kind of, I hope they make you like linger, and then you also have like this relationship to body, I think, to them too. Do you go ahead, Stephanie?
It looks like
I was just
Matthew,
gonna say,
actually, it looks like Matthew Gerson would like to say something. You have your hand
do it,
raised?
Matt. Do it, Maddie.
All right, Steffi, thank you, Stephanie. Thanks, Camille. Thanks, everybody at RAC for this. I have not gotten in to see the show yet, sadly. I think it's the way that you're talking about the work formally, the way we're looking at things, the way we activate the space. I love all that. but you've also mentioned about finding this thing in Reese Park or being in this neighborhood or where you live. And I'm curious to know if there's any combinations in the work about where you find things, and if there's any maybe narrative that's built up through where it comes from, where it gets to in the work, and then where that work goes. Thank you.
So, I'm trying to think, I guess with maybe like the me plus you, like the walking in the park and finding the plant and then trying to like grow it.
I'll share it. Good. Keep talking.
Oh, okay. I guess there's this like the idea of like expansion, like being in a play, like being a self, but like expanding out, working with like what's in your community. I don't know, it's just this feel of like everythingness. And when I go and when I'm in like the neighborhood taking things, I work a lot with like sled parts, ideas, you know, in the community about like risk, play, the change of a moment. I guess the tracker with like the runners on it. I have a lot of them that has like a narrative of falling issues in the family. And so those kind of the scab and the fall and the need for security with the runners kind of runs in that runs through tracker. Does that help at all, Matthew?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
I have a question, Camille, kind of following up on Matthew's question. There's a sweetness and a delicate kind of level of respectfulness around your work that draws me in. And I think that there's the component of recycling is really interesting. And I'm just wondering how much you had that at the forefront of your mind from like a social expression aspect, especially given today's political climate and everything that's been happening in our world. How much of the recent political strife that we've gone through has impacted your work?
I think I've always, my mom uses like everything. So I think it was how I was raised by like we didn't have a lot of money. In fact, I was on like, I remember when my parents had divorced and I was on school lunch program and I got free lunches. And I was so excited. I was like, woo, free lunches. I thought, you know, it was like a gift, like I was like special. You know, I thought it was, and my brother was so humiliated. I was running around saying I got free lunches. So, you know, I guess growing up poor, and then also having a father who's an environmentalist, I just have always I've always loved looking for things, and my mom still loves looking for things. She can't stand that the secondhand shops are closed. So I think I always have loved that. I mean, I've always loved the discovery of finding things in the environment or wanting you to find them in my paintings. But yeah, it's huge. The environmental issues are really are huge to me. I even though I don't buy very much, it's amazing to me how much, you know, debris I constantly have, or even, you know, when I'm really selective, I still have, I mean, it's just the amount of stuff that one person can use or buy is just, it's mind-boggling. So, I mean, I try to be really careful, and I try to, you know, use what I can find. So yeah, it's extremely important to me as you know, living on this planet to do what I can.
So it seems to me, because your work is very playful and color, well, much of it has a lot of color. I mean, there are some that are more monotone, the pool one, but that it's from a place of just intuitive being, of just sheer joy of what you can make out of something, as opposed to a statement, right?
Yeah, I think some of them are like the forever painting. The way I orientated it kind of looks a bit like a hungry Pac-Man, and it's just it's kind of scabby, but it's also kind of like overabundant, and it just looks so hungry. I don't know if Stephanie has the
I'm working on it.
forever painting, but that one just is similar to the Me Plus You plant. It kind of has this like pop image kind of embedded in it.
So I see
I'm
Lisa
gonna-
McKean has a question. I don't, if you want to go ahead, Lisa.
Sure. Hi, everyone. And thanks, Liz, and of course, Camille. I too haven't seen it yet. I hope to. It sure on the screen looks fantastic. I'm sorry I was a few minutes late in arriving, but you said something I wanted just to ask a little bit more about. Were you making the work in the studio? I mean, in the gallery itself? You said that you had the idea of treating it as a residency.
Well, so back in November, positivity rates were like at 15%. So I wasn't sure if I would be doing like like maybe I'll just like make work and change, you know, make a larger installation in the space, or if I'll have an actual exhibit that people can see. As it turned out, I have an actual exhibit that people can see. So no, I was not working, and I have not been working in the space. Most of the work was done in a basement.
Okay, well then, just to follow up on that, not that it makes that much difference, but having taken not one but two of your online collage classes, just looking at the images of the gallery there where you're sitting, it feels almost like one of your collages. I mean, the works themselves, but an ensemble, and the way that you incorporated the floor into it sort of makes it feel even more that way. Could you maybe just talk a little bit, if you haven't already, about how your collage practice and teaching collage, if at all, plays into this body of work?
Oh yeah, I think the installation was probably looked closer to my collages that I worked on with you folks in the Collage in Place when it was in my basement.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Camille, can you unmute, Camille?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sorry,
Now we
you
can.
got muted for some reason. Just, sorry.
I know it wasn't intentional. The shower curtains were all kind of like lined up into like one right behind the next, and it really did look like a lot of my collages that work with opaque spaces, transparent spaces, and it really mimicked the body in my studio because I had a lot of the ropes, more of the ropes dangling and more tubes that kind of like made you think of entrails. But when it came into this space, the light just changed it, and the way that you navigate around rack kind of had to change it. But yeah, I do so much layering, and I use a lot of plastics and transparent materials in my collages that I think the installation fed into a lot of the collages, and the collages kind of fed into the installation. I do really like that I kind of spread it out and made it more like it became much more expansive and kind of splayed apart in this space. I really liked how it changed and how it became really sensitive to where it was at. It was really scary, putting it together when it wasn't like my basement environment. When it got elevated up into the sunlight, it was like, my little or my big kind of like shower curtain kind of body entrail thing just became like open and expansive and airy. And I like both, but it was just like when the sun hit it, it was just fantastical.
Can I ask a question? Can you talk a little bit about your storyboards at the town hall and how they play into this exhibit?
Yeah, so I started a lot of the storyboards 2 years ago in Acapulco on vacation. They were just, all I did was printed out a lot of some of my assemblages and decided, well, I'm just gonna, I saw an exhibit of Frankenthaler at Art Institute. I really liked it. It seemed like her studies were just as important as her finished pieces. Like there were no hierarchies. So, so I started printing out my assemblages and thinking, okay, what's the next move on, what would be the next move on these assemblages? Or what would you see as impossible to make as an assemblage if you added it? Like just play on a next move, or what could the collage do that would be an impossible feat for you to do in assemblage? And that's kind of how those collages came about. And that's when I really started working with a lot of transparencies. I started using some plastic like those transparent labels for mailings, and kind of using those in grids on top of the assemblages. So I kind of started putting plastic sheets over the assemblages. So yeah, they were really, that was really fun. That was really improv, and it was like getting to add things that I wasn't sure I could really do physically.
Lisa had her hand up first, I think.
No, she already asked her.
Go for it.
Me? Am I up?
Whomever.
Hi, Camille.
Whomever.
Hi, Camille.
It's Paul Harris. Or oops, oh no, sorry.
Just riffing off the word assemblage makes me think about the whole show, because I've seen the whole show, and I've seen you put the whole show together. You were there for days and days, assembling something that is made up of lots of parts. And whether a lot of people see a show or not, one thing a show is super important for, super valuable for, is what it teaches the artist, you know, to step back and see all of these, you know, the micro, macro, see the macro kind of assemblage of everything. I'm wondering, having spent so much time, and you're the only one in the gallery now, what if you've had time to sit with it enough to have it talk back to you and tell you what to do going forward.
Yeah, so yeah, it's so important to have art centers, because I mean, this is, I think it's almost like shows are even more valuable to me than like my schooling. So I guess it was really uncomfortable. Like, I wanted to cover up the windows because at some points the installation just looked like stupid, but I didn't, because I always think that, you know, like these are like the Joffrey Ballet, you know, where you can see the Joffrey Ballet practicing downtown. Like, I love it when people can see us working in the spaces. So I think one thing I was really surprised how I became comfortable, like, being in the space and being viewed in the space, and I didn't want to like crawl away, and I think that's the feelings in that is kind of in the work, and the idea of like expansion and me plus you, just wanting to be more vulnerable, than like hiding the space until my show was up. But Judith Mullen and I talked a lot about like the shower curtain pieces, and how they might, the expansion in them, in that piece, might be what I was going for in a lot of the really compact work. And then now that it's just like airy and just blossoming, to just to really think about like how those sheets can work in different spaces, how I can sew them together, how they drape, what the areas that kind of look stretched and the lines from the stretching can do, and just like there's a lot of references to botanicals in them, like the ropes. When you cut the ropes, they almost make little flowers. So yeah, I think the airiness from Me Plus You and the shower curtain piece are kind of really interesting to me, and I think they have a generosity in them too. Like, there's air around them, you know, for people to, I don't know, to breathe it in, where like a lot of the pieces that are kind of scabby, there's not a lot of room for navigating through. But yeah, so I think the idea of like expansionness, I've really been delving a lot into Buddhism and meditation, and that seems to just kind of align with, you know, since Trump became was president, it really changed my life. In some ways, you know, that whole experience changed it for the better.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Camille, because you wouldn't know how those pieces work until you actually had them in a space. You know what I mean? So that makes a lot of sense to me.
I think Allison has a question.
I do.
And then, okay, and then we should wrap it up, sadly. But go ahead, Allison.
Okay, about Me Plus You, is that
I'll put it back up.
Is the centerpiece still alive?
No, this is the really depressing part of the whole exhibit. I was when I started working on it and it was growing and growing. It grew for like 6 months, and I brought it to rack and immediately started to give up the ghost. So it's still a little green. I've been trying to put like wet paper towels on it, but it does not like Riverside Art Center. I don't know why. But
So I guess the question I have is that, did you plan for that? I mean, this is obviously an ongoing piece because it's going to change on its own. Do you plan on continuing to interact with it as it goes through its death rattle?
You know, that's a good question, because I was talking to some people who came here and I was like, oh, you can see when the leaves that were, when I installed it, you can tell which leaves died in the exhibit because they're not worked on.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, that is something. It could be an artist in residency with that plant, because I would just continue to work on the leaves that, you know, are kind of have, you know, dried and gave up the ghost.
Well, can I ask a question about your intentionality about embellishing this live plant?
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to what you chose to add to it and why?
I guess I guess I kind of felt like we were working together.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
And
can
it's
imagine.
like in the title, like me plus you, like it was really growing slowly. I was making these marks during like meditation practices, and I also tried to expand it. I used some like some undercoats of like some fluorescent paint, but it never really expanded onto the wall. But yeah, I felt like I was like collaborating, and we were like doing stuff together. You know, we were in the space. It was growing. I was working. It felt like a studio mate.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I do come away with a little bit of, I mean, I'm sure it's what you thought, but that the plant alone wasn't enough, right? That its natural course, or that it needs to be more, or, you know what I mean? Was that part of your thinking?
No, I think I just wanted like to work with it, like us to work together.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank
So it
you.
was like a collaboration in a way then with that piece.
Yeah.
It wasn't judgment like that, you know.
When it started growing, it was such a pal movement, you know, when I saw it like continuing to like grow, and then just like making a bigger POW together was just, it was fun.
Got it.
Well, I think we need to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Camille. You know I'm wild about your work, and it's been my pleasure to work with you. And thank you for my experience with you as the executive director at RAC, and also I get to live with your work for a month at most. So I love that. And thank you all for joining us. I appreciate it. And thank you for supporting the Riverside Arts Center.
Yeah, I can't tell you what a wonderful experience this has been. Just working here and then getting to exhibit. I hope everybody just supports their art centers now. They're just, I feel like I've gotten schooled all over again, just like within this month. So it's wonderful.
So, and I want to just put a little mention that Camille has been sitting in the gallery on Saturdays during the course of the exhibition. And so if you would like to make an appointment to come in, you can have conversations with Camille. And I know that's been a really wonderful aspect of the exhibit overall. And so I encourage everyone to do that. And also the town hall exhibit, the collage pieces that are in the town hall are very different to the pieces in the Freeark gallery, and they're really just wonderful in and of themselves. And so I encourage you to do that. And the town hall building is open during kind of normal business day, workday hours, so you can go in and see the work. There aren't a lot of people in the building because the staff is mostly working from home, but they do have the building open for people to come in. And then also, Camille is offering her collage class again next Saturday. So if you would like to register, it's been really popular class, and it's on Zoom. It's collage together in place. So it's I've heard a lot of really good things about it. I might sign up for it myself. And so that's next Saturday, and you can just register on our website if you'd like. And I want to thank Stephanie, and I know the process of watching, Camille was installing at the same time as Colleen, who is in the Flex Space Gallery, and it was really wonderful to go and see the two pieces kind of growing there, and the one extremely organic and made of these recycled materials and kind of stuff all over the place. And then Colleen's exhibition is this very precise kind of organized piece that relies a lot on technology. So they're very different, and it was really wonderful to see Camille working and to just consider that aspect of this allowing the work to continue to evolve on its and respond to it and express, sort of let it grow and follow it as well as impact it. So it was a really wonderful experience to watch that. And I love going into the gallery because it's different every day. So it's really beautiful.
And thank you all for supporting the Riverside Art Center. We love you all. Ellen Campbell, I'm so happy to see your sweet face. All of you. We really appreciate all of your support. So please come see us when you can schedule an appointment. And we thank you for your support for Riverside, and see Camille's exhibition because it's badass.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you so much, Liz and Anne and Paul, for all you guys do for RAC. And hi to my meditation buddies and my Colorado friends, Gail Gerson, I'm so here, and Ellen and Matt. Thank you guys so much, and my husband Joe, and Jay Vancura, who's just done so much for RAC.
Yeah, thank you to everyone.
Well, I just want to say, as a member of the board of RAC, Camille has been a force for good for so long with us as the executive director, and now that she has left and Liz is in her place, it's been an incredible smooth transition with Liz now, and Camille, we love you and we will miss you, and I'm so grateful to have this space where you can just express yourself fully so beautifully.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful to learn more about you
throughout, so I won't be a stranger for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Oh, and Joanne, thanks for all you do.